Hello and welcome to Connect to Love here on PRN-FM, where each week is an incredible exploration into the many facets of our connection to love, oneness, and the human spirit. I'm Lisa LeRose, and I'm joined by the most amazing co-host who always inspires me, Michael J. Russ. I am so grateful to you, Michael. I want to say welcome to you and see what wonderful things are unfolding in your corner of the world.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Inspiration abounds. It's a beautiful day. Took my top down, took a drive early this morning, running some errands, and it was so cool. I just love it. I love when I can do that and it's not 1,000,000 degrees outside. It's fantastic anyway. It's the reason I love convertibles, wind blowing in your hair, you got the sun shining on your face, and it just brings me joy. So that's why I have it. That's why I do it. So today, it's good. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like you were enjoying a beautiful, blissful experience, which is what I wish for you every day.
Yeah,
no matter what you're doing. And
our audience, we wish you a blissful day as well. There's a lot of people around the world tuning into us, and I'm appreciative. I'm happy about it, grateful, and loving all of you. And I hope that this week's topic will inspire you to, even further, to be your authentic self.
Yeah. Well, when you are on a journey like you are in a car, we often explore many things, and that's what we do on this show. We had been exploring expectations and trust and surrendering and joy and all sorts of wonderful things. And Michael had sent me an amazing Bashar video on trust, and it had a word in it that just struck me, and it stuck out. And I said, wow, I'd love to explore this, because between expectations and trust, there is a third point, positive, opposite of positive, negative, and then in the center there's this thing, and it's called neutral. And I think it was so powerful, because what I realized about neutral is not about being indifferent. It's about finding clarity and conscious choices that can only come from that place where there's a peaceful calmness, like you driving down the road with your convertible down. You're sort of in this space, and you're allowing the road and everything to take you. It's not as though you don't sometimes have to put on the brakes or sometimes speed up to be able to merge onto something, but when you are in that effortless coasting, I think that life is very much in alignment. It's a lot of different things. And after you sent me that video, Michael, it was really interesting, because I started thinking about neutral. And the very first car that I ever was taught to drive in was a standard or a stick shift, which is what a lot of people refer to. And Pittsburgh is very hilly. And when you go on a hill, there's a very fine line between, taking your foot off the gas and the brake. And some of the inclines we have are almost 90 degrees. And so oftentimes when I was first learning to drive, I sort of would be in a neutral state, because I couldn't be in a drive because I was on a hill. I was stopped on a hill. And I'd sometimes find myself drifting back, and then I'd have to find that sweet spot of neutral. And I thought, this is exactly what we're talking about today. How do you find that very, very sweet spot in how you go? And so I got to be a lot better at driving my standard, and then I switched to an automatic. And then my brother was living in Salzburg, Austria, and was having some health challenges. And I went to go visit him. He was in the hospital. He said, well, you can drive my car. And at the hospital he was at, he was allowed to leave, and he got me all settled in, and we parked in the parking garage. And I went to go leave to go back to his apartment, and I could not get out of the parking garage. And I thought, this is crazy. I cannot find reverse. I know how. I'm parked in a spot. And so what did I do? I put my foot on the brake, and I found neutral. And because, thank goodness, the parking garage had a slant, I was able to coast out of that spot and get the car on forward. which worked really, really well until I couldn't remember exactly where I was going. And I ended up in a parking lot, and I was on a flat surface. And finally, I had to surrender and call my brother, and I said, I cannot find reverse. He said, oh, it's opposite. In this particular car, reverse is opposite to where it is in the U.S. But it was really interesting because I would not have been able to go anywhere had I not been able to find that neutral spot. So I was chuckling to myself because it was something where pride came in. I didn't want to admit that I didn't know how to drive or that perhaps I had forgotten something. And it was in that sort of that neutral moment of surrender when I was in the parking lot and there was nowhere for me to go forward or backward or whatever, that I had to surrender and call my brother. And then once I found that, then I was okay. But it was it was an interesting thing. But I do think that neutral is a very powerful place. You know, Bashar says you have positive and you negative, and then in that center spot you have neutral. So I'd love to hear about when you find neutral to be beneficial to you, what you notice, how you can use it to your advantage, and just sort of what we're bubbling on you and wanting to inspire me with that video. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Well, it's pretty amazing. I know last time I was in Europe, I had everything to stick over there. Automatic is sort of like secondary. Most of the cars have stick, and literally, I remember I'm saying to myself, thank goodness for diagrams. there was a diagram of where everything was: first, second, third, fourth, fifth, neutral, and reverse. So anyway, I was just laughing and chuckling at that example to you. But listen, it's neutral is this, like you said, you call it the sweet spot. And I agree with you. It's the sweet spot. It's the place of neutrality where you're not moving left or right, up or down. You're just there. And I in my book Zero Adversity, I apply it to the response that we spend a lot of time judging and investing in judging things that are going on and figuring out where we fit within them. And I think it's really amazing because I started doing this about 25 years ago, just being in a neutral state when I'm out and about. There's so much that you can be exposed to, and versus 25 years ago, that's probably grown exponentially. And, life can be busy, but you've got to ask yourself, why is it busy? Because I'm investing in things that aren't relevant for me, that don't really have anything to do with me and my life personally? Or, because people do, they invest in games, video games, they invest in sports, invest in everything surrounding these things, all the drama, everything that goes on around them with the players and the uniforms and the outfits and the changing of names of stadiums, and whether we go live or whether I watch it on TV, when I'm going to watch it on TV, where I'm going to watch it on. I mean, it's like it can be crazy. And it's grown because now there are 24-hour sports channels, and that's all they do. And there are 24-hour channels for everything. And so I find the place of neutrality to be a very peaceful place for me from a response perspective. It's so cool, and I challenge our audience to do this. And that is to when you leave the house, be neutral. Invest in neutrality. You don't have to dedicate not only thought or emotion or feeling to what goes on in your external world as you're going from point A to point B. Attempt to just be calm and peaceful and in a place of joy yourself, and not do that. You see things happen, you just accept that they're just events that go on around you, that you don't have to judge them, that you don't have to, again, invest your feelings or judgments into them. Because we've been taught to judge everything. Oh, that's good, that's bad. Oh, I hate that. That's not, I don't like to do that. I would never do that, right? We get into this mode of we're always busy doing something, saying something, committing some sort of energy or attitude to something, and really not necessary. And sometimes you don't realize it until you get to a place where all that is not happening. I was reading an article about Koh Samui, Thailand, and how peaceful it is and how it's a place of wellness. It's become a high-end place of wellness. Lots of spas and treatments and all these kinds of things. And the gentleman who wrote the article was talking about how they've turned, wellness into a really cool thing with different kinds of pools that you can swim in and this and that. But what you don't have is distraction. And that's really what I'm talking about. There are a lot of distractions. And the cool thing in life for you is when you can be neutral throughout the distractions, where stuff goes on, and it's not like you don't care. It's just that you realize it doesn't have anything to do with you, because it's happening for the people it's happening to. You see, right. It's that whole adage that life doesn't happen to you; it happens for you. And then that adage takes you and it shifts your mind around to look at the positive aspects, to find the joy and the fun in things, and to understand that there's learning that comes from and transformation and evolution that comes from everything that you're exposed to. However, you don't have to dedicate any time or energy to everything. You can just be throughout everything, all the honking horns, all the people rushing around you. You can just see it as one big play that's going on around you. You're standing on stage and the play is unfolding around you, the drama, the singing, the this, the that, but you're not really dedicating any energy to it. You're just watching, right? It's a cool thing to do. And when you do it, you approach life from that neutral perspective and realize that you do not have to respond to absolutely everything because it's happening. Your life is transformed because you don't have the loss of energy, the loss of focus. You actually gain a whole lot more time because now you control time. You control your time. And that's what makes it so cool.
No, so that's so true, Michael. And, that's one of the things that I really appreciated about the insights from Bashar, because he pointed out that neutral is not indifference, that it is a state of awareness, that it was a space where we're no longer reacting, and we are not assigning any meaning to something. So we're just observing. And I really found that very empowering, because when we recognize it doesn't matter what happens, and we are sometimes sucked into television shows, especially some of these reality shows, what I think are really illusionary. Yeah. But it's what we do with it, and I think that can really shift everything. And Dr. David Clemens says we become a society where we react. We don't respond. And there are certain times that responding is very important. If you're standing by the river's edge and you see somebody, help, I'm drowning, you're going to get them help. You're sensing danger. You're not going to be in a state of neutral there. Right. You are going to be in a state where you do need to respond quickly. You're going to recognize that there is an action that needs to be taken. But most of life is not in that framework. And oftentimes people will be in traffic and somebody will cut them off and they will just react they'll blare on the horn and they'll spew obscenities and all of these horrible things, and next thing you know, things get escalated. But if you were standing in front of that person and not in the safety of this vehicle, right, you would not pick up garbage and throw it at them in their face. You wouldn't, and that's really what it is. I think that when we tend to react like that, that's what we're doing. We are allowing ourselves to be controlled by something outside of us. And And I think it just takes that moment when we sort of shift into neutral, and you can kind of say, yeah, you know what, I've accidentally cut somebody off too in my days, and I don't need to respond in that manner. I can understand that, yes, I'm participating in this traffic jam, and there's lots of frustrations that are occurring, but I can shift smoothly, effortlessly, easily, take a deep breath, allow myself to go into a state of calm, turn on the radio, change my channel, find something that is maybe not aggressive music, maybe peaceful music, whatever it does that I need to do. I am empowering myself, and that's what I thought was so wonderful about it. It doesn't matter what happens. It matters what you do with it. You are choosing your response. You, me. I am choosing. Yeah. And empowerment. That's what sovereignty is all about, right?
True. That's exactly what it's about. Being able to be in control of your own mind, your body, your reactions, your feelings, your thoughts. Being in control of all of that. And which nowadays, for many people who've fallen into the habit of responding to everything, or the feeling that they have to respond to everything, it's a relief when you shift back into neutral. You shift back into neutral and you just say, you know what, I am going to only respond to those things today that require me to respond to them. If someone says hello, I'm going to engage them. I'm going to connect with people. If I'm in a position where I can connect with people, I'm going to connect with people. Be friendly, be joyful, be grateful, be appreciative and compassionate and empathetic and loving and kind to everybody I connect with. Those people who are across the room I'm not connecting with, that are going through whatever they're going through, it's none of my business. And I don't have to step into it. Most of what goes on in life is none of my business. My business is to go inside and generate the joy and the love and the fun and excitement and passion, the creativity, the inspiration, that those higher frequencies that I can then resonate out to the world. That's my mission, right? Because a lot of times, really, what we're talking about here is responding to external circumstances. Your external world. We talk about the fact that, and we've mentioned in past podcasts, that your external world is a mirror of what's going on inside of you, in your head, in your thoughts, and your feelings, and your inner conversations. That's what it is. And if you believe something to be so, then the world, your outer external world, will validate what you believe is right. You know, whether you're right or whether you're wrong, you're right in both cases. It doesn't matter. That's where your focus and attention is placed. So when we look at responding to things, we are giving ourselves space. When something happens, and as you said, there are those situations or circumstances where taking action, instant action can help another soul, help another human being. And in those cases, it's the right thing to do is to, jump on it, make sure that you're helping someone else. And you could be saving a life, you could be helping them move forward in some way, but it's something that's pretty expedient, something that has to happen like right now. And those are they don't happen every day, as you said. They don't. They're few and far between. The majority of what you experience throughout the day is things happening with people involved in drama, people whose lives are a reflection of their feelings, and that's what they're getting back, and they're not really happy about it. There's a lot of that going on, and drama and reality TV feeds into that. It puts a spotlight on it, and what most people don't realize is that reality TV is not really reality. They're taking all of the various archetypes of people, and they are finding a person that fits that archetype and throwing them together in a pool and creating and creating this drama that is crafted. It's crafted drama. and you're expected to and prodded to react it 10 times the energy of what you would if something normally happened to someone in real life. Because it's TV, it's reality TV. We have to make a bigger reaction because we're on TV. And so whether you're in a house with 15 people or you're on an island with 20 people and it's a game, the game is about drawing out negativity, because that's what gets people to watch. How is this person going to react to this thing I did to them, right? And so I don't know. My brother and I were having this conversation years ago as an actor. That reality TV was taking over because it was less expensive to produce, and interestingly enough, it's gained in popularity 1,000 times because people are convinced somehow that it's unscripted when it's really scripted, right? It's just like it's something that could happen down the street, something that could happen in your high school or your college or at work. All these things happen. I mean, listen, reality TV has been around for eons in terms of soap operas, right? Novellas. I think they're novellas in South America and in Europe. Hey, listen, they've been around. This is crafted drama. What happened in real life accelerated.
I'm chuckling because I got sucked into that world in college. Everybody tuned into a particular soap opera.
I know. I know. It was called General Hospital, and everybody was concerned about. Yeah, I know, man. It was like, I know. I went there in school. That was back in the 70s. Oh, my gosh, it was crazy. But, everybody had to rush home after class to find out what happened, right? And, it's just, I've learned since then that, wow, what a waste of time that was. But it created in a dorm. It created a sense of community. It was conversational and the like. But I mean, it's true. But really, reality TV is normal things that happen every day put on steroids. Amplified thousands of times, so that it becomes bright. Okay, and the unfortunate thing about it is that it's not really bright light. It's not the kind of light that we want to be generating within ourselves, because what it happens to do is it can only be successful if it elicits anger and judgment and sadness, the lower frequencies. It can only be successful if it generates that. You can't have a loving soap opera. To many people, that's not their life. They're not really loving of themselves or others all the time. No, you and I, we have learned and evolved and transformed to the point where we are human beings and still see certain things, but we live more in the space of love and kindness, and we respond differently by choice, because all of this is a choice. You don't have to sit around and watch drama, soap operas, and all that kind of stuff. You don't have to sit around and watch sports where one person beats the pulp out of the other. You don't have to do that. What does that elicit? Is there any love or any joy there? And there might be fun for somebody, not the person getting the pulp beat out of them, but I mean, there's fun for somebody. I don't know how you can rave and have a good time watching that kind of event, but that's just me. My preference is to watch something that happens to lift me, elevate me. A story of transformation where somebody goes from not believing to believing in themselves. Because it demonstrates what's possible, and I'm always interested in what's possible instead of what's not. And so, being in neutral, to get back to that, it allows for me to have space to understand that I don't need to respond to much of what I see. It just there's no reason for it, and you just step back and take a deep breath and keep moving. And
Right.
you're able to maintain those feelings of joy and whatever you're doing that's creating joy and fun and excitement within you, and the creativity, the love you have for yourself. You're loving let's put this, let's classify this. This is a way, being neutral is a way of loving yourself. It's another way of loving yourself, being a neutral, because you care about the feelings that you're eliciting. You're caring about your sovereignty. You're caring. It's a form of self-care. Neutral is a form of self-care. I know I got there. I kind of moved around about it, but that's my view. It's a form of self-care. That's what unscripted radio can do for you. When you're not scripted and you're reading off things. No, you get there eventually, but you kind of work around it. But yeah, it's a form of self-care.
Yeah, no, it's very true, Michael. I mean, everything exists in the quantum field, and eventually we do get there. And it's about the signal that you're putting out. When you were speaking, I kept thinking about where discernment comes in, because there is a lot of things that we are being fed. And one of them, there's a show, I'm not going to add any fuel to the fire, but it's about brides who are very horrible to each other, to their, and to a lot of, and when I first time I saw that show, it really hurt my heart. And I thought, well, how is it that they just so happen to have a camera there when this woman is having a meltdown and it just gets from bad to worse? And that's not, for me, that's not what I want to watch. If I'll tune the channel to the Hallmark station, there's a movie, there is drama at some point, but usually at the end it has a happy ending. The couple end up falling in love and work through their differences, and to me that's creating a space of tranquility and peace. So a lot of times we ask ourselves, we are in a stressful situation, and how do we respond rather than react to create that calm mental space that we can kind of, because I think when you're in that space, like those brides, you cannot think clearly. You're allowing your emotions to kind of drive the bus. So again, going back to that metaphor about the car, so if my car and I'm hitting the gas, I can keep my foot on that gas and I can accelerate. And eventually I'm either going to have to take my foot off the gas, or I'm going to hit a brick wall, or I'm going to hit a car or something. Something's going to happen unless I'm on a racetrack. And when I hit a brake, that's the other reaction. I'm hitting a brake. I'm stopping that space. But if you've ever been in this part of the world, if you've ever been on ice, it does not behoove you to hit the gas, and it does not behoove you to hit the brake if you hit a patch of ice. The best thing to do is to put the car into neutral and let it coast. It's not pulling on the road. It's effortless. It allows you to get control. We are not slamming on the gas of expectation or hitting the brake of fear. We are shifting into neutral, and it's like when you do, I mean, I did a 360. I hit a patch of ice and did a 360 right on a road, and I thought, I'm going to hit either the median or another car, and I put the car in neutral, and I just let the car go where it needs to go, and miraculously, I was completely 360 turned around and was over the patch of ice, and I was able to put the car back in drive and go. And I think that that's oftentimes because we are not in that space of neutral, we can't see that big picture. We're focused on the mechanics of the struggle. This is what I have to do, and we're trying to force it. But when we just go into that space and go into trust, like I did, I literally took my hands off the wheel. I'm like, okay, wherever this car is going to go, it's going to go. I surrendered, and I stayed into neutral, and guess what? I was turned around. I didn't hit anything. I didn't even bounce off the median. And I think it was a good reminder for me to slow down. I didn't always know what the conditions of the road were, and oftentimes that's sort of in life, we're in a state where maybe we're focused on this one thing that happened in the day, and it just is making us miserable. And we cannot see what's beyond. But when we go into that space of neutrality and just take a step back, maybe we're taking a step to the left. Maybe we're doing a pivot, as the teachers speak about, when we're pivoting and going the other direction. That oftentimes is all that we need for the choice to become clear. Like me, when after I came out of that spin, it was like, oh, the choice is I don't want to get hit. Now that I see other cars coming towards me, I've got to decide to move forward. And that's really what it is. We have to know that there is something beyond whatever is in that space, and just trust, coast, and allow ourselves to flow into that space. And that's, for me, that's exactly how I bring more joy and peace and tranquility into my life. I let go of that tension, no matter what is going to unfold. And
good idea. Great analogy, by the way. I'm glad you didn't get hurt in any way. I don't have a lot of ice to encounter down here where we live, but we do have some black ice on occasion in January or February, because the temperatures get so low that get below freezing. However, I'm usually not on the road when that happens. But in light of we all live in different places around the world. I love the metaphor. For just releasing and letting, attempting not to control, because sometimes what that can do is make things worse. Being in a place of neutral allows you to choose a response to what is occurring in your life, and that is worth its weight in gold. It can also prevent you from saying things or doing things that you're going to later on wish you hadn't. Because what happens is when you get all riled up and you get somebody makes you angry, or somebody makes you sad, emotionally in turmoil, if you've allowed somebody to put you in that state, which is a whole different conversation and a whole nother show. But when you lose control of your sovereignty and you're in that situation, being understanding, let's just say, that you have the ability to go into neutral, and it will save you from saying or doing something in a heightened emotional state that really later on, after you've come down from that heightened state, might seem inappropriate. And if we don't see that it's happened, I'm sure, to everyone. We've all experienced that at some particular point. It doesn't matter where in the life it happened. It just does happen. But we have to evolve and transform beyond that. We have to become more aware. And the neutral response to me is the space. It's this place where you can have the time to decide what you're going to do, to decide what choice is aligned with my sovereignty and love. That's what allows, right? So you can make a choice that's aligned with something that's going to maintain your higher vibrations, maintain your kindness, maintain your joy, maintain your fun and excited state, instead of devolving completely into chaos and lower frequencies of anger and frustration and worry and fear and doubt and all that kind of stuff as a result of your response to what has occurred. I told this story once because it was years ago, so a couple of years ago. So I'm going to say it again because I know we've got a lot of new listeners here from around the world. However, I heard this story about in cities like New York, where you have brownstones and you have an area out front. You might have an area patio that has a wrought iron gate, right? Because there's no real backyard. And there was a table of four that were sharing some wine, and it's right next to the sidewalk because obviously you've got your fence, your gate, your wrought iron gate and fence there. And this two couples were enjoying some wine together, and this gentleman stepped through the gate and pulled a gun on them. And they were startled at first, and then heard what the man had to say, which was, give me this, give me that, whatever. And one of the persons persons who were sitting there, one of the gentlemen, had the wherewithal to say, would you like a glass of wine? Like, talk about disrupting the thought process of somebody who's trying to rob you. And the gentleman stopped and thought about it for a moment. It took him by such surprise that it wasn't the response he was looking for. He was looking for fear. He was looking for fight or flight response. He was looking for them to acquiesce to his desire because that's what he really wanted. But when the gentleman said, would you like a glass of wine, which was inclusive, it was a form of connection, establishing connection, he lowered his gun and said, yeah, sure. What kind is it? So literally, it was a gentleman who evidently, I'm taking poetic license with this, but what I get from the story is that it was a gentleman who was crying out to be included, who was crying out for love, for kindness, just simple kindness. Maybe in his world, because of his particular thinking, because we said before that our thoughts about ourselves create our reality. This was an olive branch, a moment where he had the ability to, he had put himself in a situation and now was able to make a choice to go neutral from where he was. And sat down with him, and at the end, evidently he apologized for, his behavior, and they'd had a couple of glasses of wine, and he got to know, the couple got to know him, right? That, really he didn't want to be doing that. It was just a thing that out of desperation and a lack of understanding of his own attitude and state of mind at the time. That's what he thought he needed to do. So there are opportunities for people to transform and evolve in the moment. It's a great story to me, because whether it's true or not, I believe it is, but it's a situation where we have all of the opportunity to move back into sovereignty from when we've stepped out of it. We can at any time regain our sovereignty. And it's important to know that we have that right to be a sovereign. And in any situation and circumstance, and being neutral, to me, is the ultimate when it comes to your own sovereignty, because you're looking to maintain control over your own mind and body, not make yourself out to be a victim. And this particular person, one of the gentlemen of these couples, he didn't see himself as a victim. He saw something different. And that thing he thought he saw transformed the whole situation. Loved it.
And it's a beautiful story, Michael, because it really shows how when you are in which they were really in a neutral state. They weren't judging the man. They weren't anticipating an outcome. He was that particular gentleman who extended the invitation to the gentleman that was holding them at gunpoint. It sort of said, I see you. I'm open to who you are. Yeah. I'm open to this situation. And he didn't, because he was in neutral, he wasn't trying to force an outcome. He was extending an invitation, an olive branch, an opening to say, I see you, I feel you. And he didn't go into fear. He didn't try to force an outcome or also fear a negative outcome. He was kind of, okay, here I am. I'm open, I'm present, I'm allowing whatever might happen, because things could have gone differently. But as you said, a lot of times when we are presented with a situation and we expect it to go a certain way, instead of being in that neutral space, we are literally almost like our own worst enemy. We're not allowing whatever is happening to just happen. And there's a wonderful passage by Rumi that I've always loved, and it says, out beyond ideas of wrongdoings and right doings, there's a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in the grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make sense. And I think that the quote really describes that transcendent, peaceful state of consciousness, that neutral. It invites us to be in this space of non-judgment, just to be in a place of deep, deep love, that pure beingness of being in neutral. There are no labels of good or bad. They just fall away, allowing us to connect with each other and ourselves on a far deeper level. But it's sort of the idea that I will meet you wherever you are. And that's exactly what that gentleman did. It's really beautiful. A lot of times we're stuck in the noise of everything that's going on, so we don't get a clear signal. And I do Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditation on no time, no space, no matter, where you just allow yourself to kind of be and float. And sometimes, like the other night, I got into my detox fast and I was listening to this meditation and going into the quantum field of no body, no thing, no time. And next thing I know, 2 hours later, I woke up in the bath. It was freezing cold.
Yeah,
no. You know what? But it was a space for me to be in quiet recognition, and I truly must have emptied myself of any of the noise to allow anything. Right. And eventually the signal that got through to my body was, it's really cold in this water. Maybe it's time to get up.
Feelings. It's awesome. That is so true. I've done that when I've meditated, gone into it just literally devolved into this restful, peaceful space, and 3 hours later, wait a minute, 3 hours went by? Really? It's a joy when it happens. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's a joy when you can get there. And I love the fact that it's thinking about this. There's so much to unpack with that story. Just a ton of there's several ways that you can go with it, and all of them are good. All of them are positive. Kindness and compassion and empathy being displayed, and the neutrality of it. The fact that there was no the reaction wasn't instantaneously negative, that there was a moment in time where a choice was made, and that choice happened to be one that actually benefited them, all of them, including the gentleman with the gun, the most, right? And it's just a ton of things from a response perspective that you can unpack with that, and tie directly to the alchemy of the moment. The alchemy of the moment was so powerful and empowering for the person who was suffering the most, the person with the gun. So fear, it's also a demonstration of how how your thoughts and your feelings are mirrored right back to you. And that's taking it to that nth degree, being in that situation and saying, oh, hey, if I promote inclusion here, if I implement compassion, if I demonstrate compassion and empathy that I really feel for someone who would be in a position where they felt they needed to do that, I believe that love is tied to that can heal the situation. And it really can. It has the probability of healing every situation. Every situation. I mean, we choose to. Listen, we see it all happen all the time. People devolve into arguing and rage and all of that. And when I see that occurring, the thought that goes through my head is, it's not the event. It's where their head was at before the event. The event was just a symptom. Is just a symptom of a bigger issue with regard to sovereignty and understanding, because it's a demonstration that the external world has gotten to you in a way that the noise and the racket and the chaos you've allowed to infect you in such a way that it has literally taken all the love out of you, all the kindness, all the joy. And it's a function of now we've devolved into victim consciousness, where we feel that the external world is out to get us, that we can't get a fair shake. because there's some outside force that has taken control of my life, And when we get to that position, the thing that changes that in an alchemizing way is to realize, again, we get back to what I say I become. What I am thinking and feeling is going to be mirrored right back to me. And when you're in that space, the greatest challenge is actually to go there, to go to that space of neutrality and realize, I'm having these thoughts and this is occurring in my life. Why is this occurring in my life right now for me? How can I move through this? This is happening for me. So what can I learn from this? What do I need to learn from this? What should I be thinking about when it comes to this? When it comes to myself, these questions are usually the last thing people think of, because there's really nowhere that you can go to learn this. I mean, there's no life, there's no instruction book. There's no instruction book of life, and we have to kind of like learn all our own. And as the teacher said one time, people who are downtrodden because downtrodden is all they know. If all you've known is fight and struggle, then you're going to think everything is a fight and struggle. That's the way you frame your reality. And it's an endless loop of fight and struggle if that is the way that you're thinking about yourself in your life. Mirror back. The person looking in the mirror sees fight and struggle, and fight and struggle is looking right back. And it's a harsh reality, but that's basically the way things work. And metaphysically, your life is telling you something. It's telling you something. That depending on how you feel right now, it's telling you something. If I didn't feel good about the radio show and what we have going on, we've been doing for several years now, it would manifest in my feelings. If that was the belief or perception I had, it would manifest in my feelings, and it would literally drive the whole conversation behind this. It would make it either antagonistic or whatever, to the point where, it wouldn't occur. It wouldn't happen. I would drive it out of my life. And that's not something, obviously it's the opposite, because I love this. And we do this unscripted conversation once a week, and it's a loving expansion of sovereignty and all the goodness that we in our life are looking for. It's really, I mean, it's happened to us. I mean, we're not even having ever met each other in person. It's being on the same page with regard to sovereignty and living and loving and enjoying life and having fun. And we're human, so we have our moments of things that go wrong, so to speak, or things that, even though they're happening to us, we feel you can make that judgment instantaneously, like, oh, okay, this shouldn't be happening, right? This shouldn't be happening to me. What did I do to deserve this? What space am I in? What headspace am I in to make this occur? And it may also be because, hey, it's giving you an opportunity to validate your own thinking, to validate that you're living from love, that you're acting from love, that you are a passionate and loving and compassionate, empathetic person. It's just giving you that opportunity to prove and to demonstrate that you've got empathy and compassion for others. It's something as simple as that. Not always a big message. It's just, hey, okay, look, we're going to throw this railroad tie in front of you. Are you going to jump over it, or are you going to trip over it?
Right.
So, yeah, and a lot of times you can be aware and go, oh, wait a minute, okay, it's there. I'm just going to step over this gently. I don't know how it got here. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how it got here. I'm just going to step over it and keep walking.
Right. And that's a great example, Michael, of just observing your thoughts, what Bashar was speaking about. You're seeing that railroad tie. You're noticing that it's there. You're choosing not to stub your toe. You're not analyzing, maybe I should get out a tape measure and measure this railroad tie. And
exactly.
Who the heck put this here? You're not putting judgment on it. Why would somebody be so stupid as to put this right in my path?
Yeah,
you're just
really
seeing it. And you're making the choice to step over it. And when you do something like that, it shifts things. You just move out of the noise and you move into clarity. You're like, oh, well, this obstacle is going past. No big deal. I'm just going to keep moving forward. I did an event on Friday night, and it was chilly here. It was very cold, and it was expected to rain, but then it was going to be done. But I thought, and I could have found a million reasons why not to go. It's going to rain. I don't feel like taking my stuff. My stuff's going to get wet. I'm going to be cold. Da, da, da. But I didn't. I packed my car up. I put everything in the car that I needed. And last minute I thought, I have a tent. I'll just bring my tent. So I have shelter if in case it does rain. And I got there and unloaded my stuff. And there was a really wonderful, this most amazing girl there. And she said, oh, do you need help putting it up? She set it up. She and I spent 5 hours together. I was so grateful not only to have connected with her because she's an amazing human being, but all of the other people who came out in the rain to enjoy a wonderful evening of connection with each other. And I could hear music. I couldn't believe down the street they were playing live music. I mean, it didn't matter. Everybody was just oblivious to the weather that was going on. Now, I will say my hands were really cold. I was grateful to get in my car at the end of the event. But my world would have been so different had I not made the choice just to be in neutral and not judge what was my preconceived notions about what was going to happen. I would have missed out on meeting some really wonderful people and making an amazing new friend. Really, we're already planning on connecting and going out and trying some fun restaurants. We enjoy a lot of the same things, and I would have completely missed that out. I mean, maybe I would have met her another time. And then when I did leave, I thought, I was driving down the road, and I thought, maybe I'll go to this tea house. Well, the tea house ended up being closed, but then I walked into a gallery that was right next door, and I thought, it's still open. I'll just go pop in and see what art's hanging on the wall. And walked through the one room, then walked into the next room and recognized this artist's work, and I found the sweetest print that I ended up buying. And I hadn't seen this particular artist in almost 20 years, not since she owned a bookstore. And I was over the moon with joy to be able to reconnect with her. But again, had I allowed that railroad tie to stub my toe or the weather or whatever it was, I would have missed out on so many wonderful things that unfolded for me on my Friday night. Many unexpected occurrences because of that choice.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. That's a wonderful story, by the way. And a lot of people would have just simply said, "No, I'm not going. Just forget about it." What comes out of what you just said was, number one, is not. It comes to the railroad tie. It's easy to get wrapped up in how and why. If the story goes, if a railroad tie falls in front of you, and some people will turn around and ask how and why and who did that and get all caught up in the drama of the moment. Others will just step over it and keep walking. And so there's a richness in neutrality that you're not going to get any other way, not at all. And the fact that you've also demonstrated that having that mindset led to not only having a new friend in your life, but also rediscovering something that you had, forgotten. And which demonstrates that there's actually joy and fun and discovery and other forms of excitement that occur when you have that mindset of neutrality. You're literally opening the door to wonder when you remain neutral. You're not blocking it by judgments and negative feelings and emotions as a result of something that you were exposed to. I've always said, and we agree, in an argument, nobody wins because nobody's listening. And if you're upset at someone, you're not only not listening, but you're also not getting the point of how you're not paying attention to your feelings and why you're that way. The person who's alert and aware and understands their own sovereignty will step back from it for a moment, step back from engaging in that argument and go, really? There's no right, there's no wrong. That duality doesn't really exist. If in my own mind, if I feel I'm right, that doesn't mean I'm right. It just means that that's the way I believe I am. And so shifting that belief or that perception to something neutral of, well, it could be, maybe not, I might be not right. Well, why don't I just see how it goes? Why don't I just experience both and then see how I feel about them? Because there's a way, as Carol Collins and the teachers always like to say, you can find joy and fun in anything. However, it's going to be less easy to find if you're angry or frustrated or in fear or doubt or worry or anger, flat out anger or sadness. You're not going to see what is sitting there right in front of you, which is opportunity. And Absolutely. The universe, your guides, even your higher self will put something there for you to see if you'll get it. And if you get it, then you open door number 2. If you don't get it, then you're going to keep going, and something else will come into your existence because your mindset hasn't changed, your level of awareness hasn't altered, and then you'll have another opportunity to choose to make a different choice, to choose sovereignty over not being a sovereign. And so the key to life is always there before you. You just have to key to a joyous and wondrous life, the miracles you've been looking for. You just have to get out of your own way.
Absolutely. And I think, Michael, I love those insights because it got me thinking about how each one of us, if we were going to practice neutral today, notice your reaction. What are you immediately labeling as good or bad? And if you catch yourself doing it, pause. Take a pause before you assign that meaning, good or bad. Give yourself that space. Observe your thoughts. Recognize you are not your thoughts. My thoughts were, I don't want to go and stand in the rain. No, I separated from that. I chose to do something very consciously. And I think that when we respond rather than react, as Dr. David Clemens always says, that response becomes intentional. It is our intent. And that allows us to return to the present, and that is where neutral lives. It's right there. It's in that breath. That's the neutral. That trinity that Bashar talks about, and I really love that. And I think, life goes by very quickly, and maybe it isn't asking you to react so quickly. Maybe it's inviting you to pause, to observe, to soften, to become neutral, to allow. And I'm so grateful to you, Michael, for sending that video because it was a really good reminder for me. I think I must have listened to it 3 or 4 times because it was short.
Yeah, it was short, so it's easy. Short. Yeah. I let it run over.
But the message to me was very clear, and I allowed myself. I didn't go, oh, you know what? I don't need this now. No, like swipe it, go to the next one. I just was like, there is something here for me. Am I choosing to allow the message to come in? And I think that each one of us has that opportunity every day, with whether it's a stranger who comes up and has a message for us that may be transformational. We may not realize it at the time. It's just a powerful realization, and that's what I loved about that little short, because it was not what happens, it's what we do with it. And being in that space of neutral, I think, kind of gives us that wide 360 perception of, okay, what do I want to do with it? Maybe I want to go this way. Maybe I want to go that way. There's no wrong way. They're all available. There's infinite possibilities.
No. I agree. It's all about how you whatever state you're in, that's what your experience is going to be. And so being a neutral creates an awesome experience and an opening to make choices that really, really do benefit you, not only in the short run but the long run. This has been fun. I appreciate this opportunity again, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate our audience. Thank you so much.
Yeah, likewise. And thank you. Thank you so much. And the space between you and Michael, that's where love lives. And that's where we peace out. That's where we stay connected. So thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.